Okay, hi Emily, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me, Douglas.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to have you here. Happy to talk to you. So, I see your book behind you there called Running Mates, and I think your timing is very good considering the crazy political election that we're going to have in a few months. And
Absolutely. It's certainly timely.
it is very timely. I see on your bio it says that you're a DC based psychotherapist who works with college and high school students. What is the difference between a psychotherapist and a psychiatrist or psychologist?
So a psychiatrist prescribes meds. I cannot do that. I'm the psychotherapist, so I do the talk therapy. We talk about feelings. I think it's called the talking cure, but often we work with psychiatrists because often medicine is helpful in furthering the psychotherapeutic process.
Okay, but different than a psychologist?
Oh yes, okay. A psychologist usually has a PhD and has a research component to it. And I got my social work degree and then took the psychotherapy route. So very focused on the clinical aspect of therapy.
Oh, I see. Okay. Um, College and high school students, are you affiliated with a school or a university or?
I'm in private practice, and I see 16 to 60-year-olds, so I see a wide range. But I it's all private practice, so it's just me and the client or the patient.
I was curious if you had a I don't know, consensus amongst your patients with anxiety specific to the political climate in America, and maybe that's what inspired your book.
Well, so I think that the political climate now more than ever, and a lot of the main political things we're arguing about, I think cause a tremendous amount of anxiety, and are do drive people into therapy. But the reason the way I got the idea for the book was actually from moving back to DC from New York with my two young sons and husband, and in my son's nursery school class, in a 15-person class, we actually had, and this is very Washingtonian, we had Mike Pence's old speechwriter and President Obama's old speechwriter in the same class. And I was watching through the year at all our birthday parties and family events, everyone got along so well. And it just made me think about what are the spaces that make us get along. And if we're coming together as parents, as people raising families in Washington, we have so much common ground, no matter how different we may be in other ways.
Why do you think that political ideology has gotten so toxic in the sense that people won't even speak to each other? It breaks up families. Why is it? I mean, what's happened? People can't just accept differences of opinions and sit down at dinner and have a peaceful meal?
And it's really a stark difference because it used to certainly be more like that, where you had across-style romances, you had people disagreeing, and it wasn't so threatening. I think somewhere along the line, people's ideas started to scare other people. And when you're scared of someone else's idea, you shut down, right? You can't even think about, are they making any good points? Can I understand what they're saying, even if I don't agree? And when we're afraid, and I think it social media and like the advent of identity politics has really contributed to this because we're reading three lines, clickbait, three lines on somebody's Twitter, and it's such a condensed way to view somebody that it sparks this huge amount of emotion.
I think that's a good point. Do you think that technology is feeding way too much information to people too quickly and they're just having emotional overload to all of it?
I Yeah, I think there's I think social media and the way that has changed how we receive news and also share our opinions, like everything else, has so many benefits, but also so many pitfalls. And I think the benefits is people, someone in Nebraska could share an idea with someone in Pittsburgh, or someone in, Denmark could, talk to somebody in California. And that's really amazing because it makes the world more global. It makes us have a bigger understanding. But the issue is it's a nonstop news cycle. We get new information every 10 minutes. Also, my parents are both therapists too, and my mom always says the key to a healthy marriage is only say 70% of what you're thinking, not 100. And I think that's true in all relationships, right? So now we have people expressing every opinion that comes to their mind and posting it, and I think it's becoming very hard for people to maintain relationships that way. I don't think we are designed to hear every little thought that goes into people's heads, and it does cause some damage.
Well, having been married now for 15 years, I think your mom's
Yeah.
advice is wise.
Yeah.
Because,
Yes.
yeah, it's too easy to get into an argument with people. And, I think everybody has a right to their own personal feelings that
Of course.
don't need to be shared across the
Right.
world, right?
Right. And how do we share, and like sharing them in kind of a way on social media, there's no back and forth. You're just putting them on something and people can digest it however they want. So many of my patients get into fights with their friends over text or fights with their boyfriends over text message. You can't read the tone. It's taken totally out of context. And I think that's part of the breakdown we're having in making people feel so kind of upset and fearful and angry.
I remember years ago, before social media was even a thing, where text chat and like Yahoo Messenger and those things were starting to come on. And one of the problems that I saw right away was that sarcasm did not transcend over
That's for sure.
over text chat. And if you said something sarcastic and you meant it sarcastically, you actually needed some kind of an emoji to convey the fact that this was sarcasm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's another really good point, Douglas, is that, so maybe 16-year-olds all know the same emoji for that. But if you're talking to your uncle or grandparent or parent or someone from a different generation, they might not know that. So there's, I think, ways that we can communicate with our peers. It gets lost in translation, literally, with different generations or different age groups.
Well, it became a whole new language that people had to learn.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
People who were in their 60s or 70s at that point had a real tough time. And
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, and I think it added to the division somewhat
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the kids were communicating with emojis and the grandparents had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah, but I think it's also kind of interesting, as you were saying before, why is it so divided now? Because if you think about it, I think every generation has had a hard time understanding the younger ones. They're coming in with these ideas that always feel radical or different. But before, it wasn't so threatening. And it is an interesting question. Why is it so threatening now to think differently? When this is a tale as old as time. The college kid comes home and no longer agrees with the family, right? That's not unfamiliar. But what's unfamiliar is that it's now breaking apart families.
Yeah, that's true. And in fact, I just watched a special on the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, which broke out in a massive riot, and there was all kinds of chaos and unfortunate bloodshed. And, the country was as divided then as it was now politically. The topics were different, but, and it's just, I'm hoping that the one next month doesn't go down that road.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully. It is scary. It's scary. I mean, this is people are very afraid, very angry, and that is unsettling. But hopefully, we can find a way to go through this in a more dignified way.
Yes, I hope so. So the book is called Running Mates, and this is your first published novel. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you decide to write? It's a fiction, I take it.
It's a romantic comedy. It's actually a beach read. It just happens to deal with these kind of timely, more deep subjects, but it is a rom-com, a romantic comedy. So,
What would you compare it to? Something that's out.
Red, White, and Royal Blue, Jenny Han novels like Summer I Turned Pretty, that kind of
Oh, okay.
genre.
All right. So is it light and fluffy, or is it serious, or both?
It is light and fluffy, but it has a big message, and it has an important message about what we've been talking about today. So it is and I think that's the best way to digest big messages is through humor and romance. They're much more palatable.
Why did you decide to go that route and write this in this sort of format?
So I've always wanted to be a writer for so long. I wanted to be a published author. Luckily, I love my career as a therapist too. So, I could, instead of self-publishing, I was like, I'm just going to hold out for a book deal because I have this other great profession. And I've always been writing romantic comedies. That's what I love to read. I think even as a therapist, it allows such a nice escape that's so important. And so then when I was, in that nursery school experience, I was like, this is such a good hook, a modern day Romeo and Juliet. And that's how this came to be.
Is the book been released?
Yes, it came out on Valentine's Day.
Oh, a few months ago.
A true
Okay.
romance, yes,
Yeah.
a true romance. But I think I'm back because it's really so relevant right now, right? Even the title, Running Mates, right? So, yes.
Okay. How's it doing? You getting good reviews?
So far it's doing well, and it's been really fun. One thing that's been really exciting is I've gone to go to a couple other cities to do book talks, and I've never gone to travel for work before because I'm a therapist, and so it was the first time that and my husband actually travels more, and so I didn't know how quickly I could move through an airport without my husband or two young boys, and that was really so freeing to do, and it's been so fun to meet readers, to go to other cities, to see all these wonderful bookstores, and to have these kind of conversations about romance, but also about empathy.
Are you planning on writing another one, a follow up to this, or?
Yeah. So I am going to write another one, and what's been really cool about this one is because it is a YA one. I've been able to be mentioned in parents magazines and some other big publications, which has been so wonderful. Yes, and I am going to write a fellow one, which is that. It's going to be it's going to still be a romantic comedy. It's still going to be young adults, but it's a different setting. I might come back to this one to do some, to follow up on some of the side characters. But the one I'm writing now is a different group of people falling in love.
Oh, okay. I was just going to ask you that if you were going to carry over the main characters in this story. So who are the main characters? Just real quick. We got about, I guess, a couple of minutes, 2 minutes.
So the main characters are Anna, and she is from the liberal family. She has two moms, and one of her moms is a liberal TV pundit, like a Rachel Maddow type. And she's in a very progressive friend group. They're always at protests. They want to change the world. And she falls in love with Gabe Delgado, who's the son of the Republican senator, and he's a lacrosse bro, super preppy. And at first they want nothing to do with each other, but they end up in the same running team and they fall in love. But comedy and obstacles get in their way.
So young adult, what age group is this geared towards?
It's a 16 to 80.
16? That's a big age group. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Last question before we wind this down. Do you have a website that you want to give out for the book, or a personal one?
Yeah, so if you just Google Emily Locker author, you will find it. There's a way to email me through it if you have any questions. I'm also on Instagram, and I will answer any DMs. I love talking about romance and comedy and therapy and empathy. So always happy to talk about any of those things.
Okay, great. Well, Emily, thanks so much for coming on the show. It was nice meeting you and chatting with you. Best of luck with the book, and hopefully we'll see a sequel come out in the near future.
Great.
Yeah?
Thank you, Douglas. Thanks so much.